I'm just checking whether we are live or not. Okay. So I think, yeah, I think we are live now on YouTube. Okay. Welcome everyone to the third episode of Head Ahead, where we invite guest speakers and experts to take up a subject or a topic and share some insights to our audience. Today, it's going to be very special and different because we are going to do something or understand something which is creative in nature. For that, we have our guest expert today, Lakshmi Sreenivasan. Okay, before we start with today's topic, I know it's design thinking, and I'm very excited about about this topic and about what you're going to share with us and our viewers. Uh, uh, I want to share something about Lakshmi herself first. Lakshmi comes with a 20 plus year experience in learning and development, organization development, and she has been a consultant to, I think, you take any good brand in the country, and I think you've worked with them, right? From Tatas and Mahindras and all the banks and all the multinational. I have a list of companies in front of me. It's Kotak Securities, Birla Sun Life, Godrej, and a lot more. uh, I also have a huge list of certifications and licenses that you've kind of achieved in your journey. Very specifically, you are a certified executive coach, and there's too many specifications. I'm going to share. Actually, I'm going to share your website link to my audience out there,
Sure.
because let them go and check your credentials themselves. But today, as we're talking about design thinking, I just want to tell our viewers that Lakshmi is also certified in design thinking from MIT Sloan. So that's something which is something that she's achieved at an international level. And I think you have also been a part of startups, and you've been a part of product development as such. And uh, wherever there's a need where you have to come up with new ideas, solve problems. So,
Yes.
taking that into consideration, I thought design thinking in uncertain times would be a very, very ideal topic in the situation that you see present. So, this live is going to be divided into three major parts. What is design thinking? How is it different from other innovation tools? What is the process of design thinking? And most important part will be how any one of us, be it an entrepreneur or a professional, can use this technique to do some kind of problem solving in their business or in their professional lives. So I'm going to, kind of hand it over to you, Lakshmi. Let's start with the first very basic question to answer: what is design thinking?
Okay. Right. So before we start, thank you so much, Piyush. It just feels so amusing and also nice that a colleague and a peer is recognizing your achievement and work for all the from all this from the past. So it's nice. Thank you so much for doing that introduction. Um, Yeah, I think the very topic in itself is so relevant for today's time because organizations, businesses, MSMEs, and SMEs are really struggling to keep afloat their businesses. And I think the design thinking, from a concept point of view, from a model, a problem-solving model, and a process point of view, fits perfect in today's times. So, yeah, so just to begin with, let's just understand what is design thinking. It is a process of innovative problem solving,
Yeah,
right? It offers you an entire framework to understand what is the
it
problem.
shows live.
Uh,
No, no, no. Did you click on go live because YouTube पे कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है?
No, it's gone live already. Just a moment, Lakshmi.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we just a minute, Lakshmi. We have some technical issue. Yeah, we've gone live already. Lakshmi, I'm sorry. I was just getting an update from that we've not been. We cannot see you live, but I can see us live on the YouTube channel. Sorry, Lakshmi, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so let's do the second take then.
No, let's just start from the beginning, if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I was just saying that that how design thinking at the moment with the current times, the uncertain, volatile, ambiguous times, the design thinking offers you the perfect concept and the model for organizations who are struggling, businesses who are struggling to keep them afloat, and see what can they really do to be able to sustain the current times. Given the pandemic situation, I'm sure, just like all the experts, you will also agree that it's going to last. The economic impact is going to last for another couple of years, and therefore, this is going to be the time for most organizations or MSMEs and SMEs to really shine. So to really respond to the question about what is design thinking, it is a process of problem solving, an innovative process which offers you the entire framework to understand the problem, right from what is the problem that we are trying to solve to generating ideas that could be potential solutions for your consumers, your customers' problem, to developing a prototype or MVP that we call it, which is a minimum viable product, which of course I'll talk about it in the later half. But developing solutions, testing those solutions in the real time in the real market to get those early feedback. As we say, it's good to fail early than to really create an entire product and then fail into the in future. So uh, make quick products, fail quickly is what design thinking really talks about, and of course implementing the solution. So in a nutshell, design thinking is that innovative problem solving tool. I also think that this is also a good platform to debunk some of the myths related to design thinking. A lot of people think that design thinking is all about design
Right,
because, of
right.
course,
I was
the
just
word
going to come
design.
to that because I have seen many people doing these workshops, but those workshops or those kind of content just specifically focuses on probably a new product development, or as you said, create faster, fail faster, and then you kind of don't develop the entire product and then kind of have a massive failure. But
Yeah,
I really wanted to you to kind of address the simplified version of, or rather, kind of, as you said, debunk that theory that it's not always about design. It is
true,
also about how someone can change completely the way that they are thinking about any problem.
true, true. So it is not only about the design, right? So as I often generally say that whether it is design thinking or design is only noticed when things don't work,
Right,
right?
right.
So all these
Absolutely.
people design solutions and they think that, okay, that's been a great design. The product looks amazing. The product seems to be good, amazing. They assume that the product is amazing based upon their lens, based upon their perception that they think that the product works. But when you really hit the market, when you really when the real time users start utilizing or using your product, that's when you realize that it doesn't work at all, right? So it's only when you put the product to test is when you will be able to distinguish whether it was design thinking as a thought process or whether it was only the design. Because design thinking is about trying to change the status quo, okay,
Right,
and
right.
try to improve the status quo. Okay. Also, design is not about being extreme. It's not about being aesthetically desirable as a product, but it is really about how can you have different variables put in a different setting altogether,
Okay,
right? It doesn't
okay.
have to be a totally different product. It can be any product put in a different setting, okay, applied in a different way. That could be purely design thinking. And as we say that, that innovation has we as an organization or as a small entrepreneur or any entrepreneur for that matter, we have to come to the sweet spot of innovation. And what does that sweet spot of innovation look like? So think about it, that is your product, is your idea, is your solution desirable, viable, and feasible?
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
that was fantastically put down. Desirable, viable, and feasible. I think
exactly.
our viewers can just put down that notes, because these are words that are probably they're gonna stay here on YouTube, but these are important things where you can just pick those pick those cues and see how design thinking does not always mean about creating new product, but it is also looking at the similar at probably the same product in different ways. And it was very very well said. Again, I'm going to repeat: desirable, viable, and feasible.
Yeah,
Awesome.
right. Yeah, because imagine a country like India where we are looking at solutions which solutions for the masses, right? Unless your product doesn't really have a mass appeal, is not desired by a mass by the masses and the public. I'm not really sure if your solution really fits that. Yeah, you can really, of course, have a class product like a Harley Davidson or a Rolls Royce or a BMW or an Audi. But what is the number of people who really use that kind of product, right? So when we talk about desirable, just basically questioning yourself that will your customer really need it? Is as simple as that, right?
Right.
Feasible would be building on the strengths of your current operational capabilities. Yeah, you can build
Okay.
a brilliant product, but with the current capabilities, skill sets, and the operational capabilities, will it be feasible for you to build that solution? And when we say viable, will this business be profitable enough? Will you be able to sustain the business model? I mean, I think if we just keep these three components in mind and create a intersection of these three components, we would be able to achieve a sweet spot of innovation. And therefore, innovation has got nothing to do with creativity. I mean, yes, it does, but not in the traditional, conventional sense of design and aesthetics and colors and things like that. Yeah. So these three components are critical for innovation, I would say, and that's what design thinking helps you to achieve the sweet spot.
Great, great, great. I think because you were speaking about creativity, my question was going to be my next question was going to be around that. They always say that innovation is the outcome of creative thinking, and
Yeah.
I feel that design thinking as a tool or a method sits somewhere in between creativity and from creativity to innovation. That the journey it sits somewhere there. Now, you rightly put that people think creativity is associated with design arts and something to do with just about aesthetic and what it looks like. But creative thinking, can design thinking as a tool kind of trigger some creative areas of human thinking or problem solving. That was the question. Can design thinking trigger those or simulate that creativity the right side of the brain?
Right. Oh, of course. Why not? Of course. That is the very idea, the crux of design thinking. It is about finding out avenues and opportunities uh, where solutions have not been thought through. Let's just take an example for that matter, right? Can we say that design thinking be applied in the current pandemic situation? Like for example, we have shortage of oxygen, we have shortage of remdesivir, or we have shortage of vaccines. Can we apply design thinking to something something which is so almost catastrophic, something which is a human crisis, which we as a country that we're going through? Is it possible that we could apply design thinking to this? I would say definitely yes, because design thinking says that um, uncertainty is a perfect opportunity for you to innovate.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, again, very well said. Can you
Definitely.
repeat that again for our audience?
Yeah, so uncertainty is the perfect opportunity for you to innovate. Okay, so let's take an example. I've recently joined the organization called Zorbal Solutions. It's also called. They also have another company called Violet Systems. Um, they are into LMS and they are into e-learning as an organization. All these years, right? E-learning was not at the mainstream or not in the center of organizations. They always used it for technical subjects, functional training, for example, firefighting, safety training, all of that. But with the pandemic, with organizations, when employees are not physically present in the organization, the HR, the L&D team have realized that how important e-learning could be. You see, so
Right.
uncertainty has given the rise that there's a huge opportunity. Now, how can we bring the solution or create a solution which will be perfectly set for this particular situation? So yeah, as I said, uncertainty gives you that kind of gives you the trigger. As you were asking, that can that be a trigger? Of course, it's a trigger. And design thinking again, to take it further, is about the mindset, and that's why it's called a design thinking. How can you use the framework of thinking, of problem solving, into creating a solution, a product, or a service?
Right,
Yeah,
right. I think everything starts in the head, everything starts with the trigger, and everything starts with thinking. Now, if you
yeah,
could actually get a mechanism or a method to think in
yeah,
a particular way to probably kind of reduce your major failure in the future, and if you can
yeah,
have small failures but recover faster and kind of come to a good idea or a product or something like even a process for that matter, even a way of doing things.
yeah,
I think design thinking is the way to. And I believe that today's topic, I was promoting it as design thinking in times of uncertainty. I think it should be design thinking in times of opportunities, which is what the uncertainty would trigger. you know
yeah, yeah,
uh, uh, Absolutely. I mean, very 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 good start to this live session. Now the next part is is about how do you kind of go about this process. How do you go about design thinking? So is there any particular process or a way or probably some steps to for anyone to adapt and apply it to probably in their small business or probably in their own profession life or probably in their team, or probably if
right,
they see a problem and they want to kind of work on it?
right. True. I mean, um, design thinking, as I said, it's a thinking process. It's a mindset. Design thinking is a mindset, and therefore the mindset is can be applied to different aspects of our life, whether it is business, whether it is home, whether it is designing a curriculum, or whether it is designing a medical device. Okay, it could be applied to different aspects and different problems, because at the end of the day, it's a problem solving tool and a technique, right? So just to dive deeper into what design thinking, the whole framework and the process is all about, we say that design thinking is based on three main pillars. Okay, first being empathy. Okay, and when we say empathy, we mean understanding the customer's needs. What are the pain points? Where is the shoe really pinching the customer? Yeah, right. So really dig deeper into the problem. The second pillar of that being ideation. And when I say ideation, it is to embody this whole process of coming up with ideas, generating ideas. Okay, so that's your second pillar. The third pillar being experimentation. Okay, and this is the most critical piece for entrepreneurship, definitely. Given my background with entrepreneurship, I think experimentation is the key for every entrepreneur, and that's why I say that fail fast, right? Create quick, fail fast. So to be able to keep the process lean, the whole development process, to keep it very lean, and to be able to reduce the turnaround time. Okay, but at the same time, also go to the market, get those early feedback, right, and then go and come back and then test your product and refine your product. So I would say these three key pillars: empathy, ideation, and experimentation, is what the design thinking framework is based upon. But of course, these
Okay.
are just the pillars. But design thinking framework talks about five different steps of product development, or creating a solution, or solving a particular problem, right?
Right.
So yeah,
But I like the way, because I think if you Google, you'll get the 5 steps of
yes,
design thinking. So you'll get a document, you'll get PDF, but you kind of you kind of put it where you actually get broader sense of how I could. So probably if there was empathy towards something that I see as a problem or as an opportunity which needs to be addressed. Now this is a wide kind of scope. Now this doesn't just apply, just kind of stick me to that 5 steps of design thinking, whether I go about ideation, prototyping, and testing, and all those things. So I think that will come later. But I love the way you kind of put it as the three basic principles of what a person can use and start at least kind of the process of in the mind, the process in the
Yeah.
mind. That is what.
Right.
And someone asked me, I have asked a question over here. We're going to put it forward. How is design thinking methodology of solving problems different than other ways or problem solving?
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting that um, how design thinking is different. Okay, so let's just take the very framework of design thinking, right? The framework of design thinking starts with empathy and then goes into defining the problem. Okay, I think design thinking puts in a lot of emphasis on definition of the problem, but every other tool, every other problem solving tool focuses more on ideation in terms of generating ideas and solutions. Let's take an example. Okay. Um, so design thinking says that you really define the problem, go deeper into understanding what the customer really needs and what are the problems around it, which can be which your product can solve. It sounds very intuitive, right? That you have to go deeper, understand the problem, empathize with the customer, and then create a solution. But that definitely does not happen in the real time. And that's how design thinking is different from the other problem solving techniques and models. For instance, let's take an HR example here. As I said, design thinking is all pervasive. It can be applied on various aspects of our lives and the various aspects of the value chain of the business. For instance, let's take an HR example. You know, you hire a B school. Again, I'm not belittling any individual or executive from the B school, but I'm just taking an example here. Okay, you hire a employee from a B school, a popular B school. You tick box all the parameters and the criteria that you would look in a candidate. But when the candidate really comes in, you realize that maybe their skill sets are not adequate enough or appropriate enough for the kind of role that is being given. What do you do then? You give them feedback, right? Okay,
Right,
may
right.
yeah, so the person could possibly take the feedback. Will try to work upon it, but you tried everything, but it's still not working. Yeah. So what you do is you look like, okay, what are the skill sets that this person has, and where is the gap in my organization? Let me try and place this person in that organization. Okay, so what you did was you created an opportunity for the individual. You don't want the candidate to, of course, be terminated. You want the person to continue in the organization. But isn't this counterproductive? Because the role, the gap or the role or the need in the organization is not to fit a solution into the problem. No, आपके पास एक solution है, you have a solution, you're trying to fit the solution into the problem. I'm saying is different. You have to really understand that what does that role need? What are the capabilities, the skill sets? What are the problems around that you want this individual to solve? But it happens entirely counterproductive way, in a counterintuitive, rather counterintuitive way, that you have a person, you want to make a place, you want to create a space for this particular person to fit into it. It's entirely it boggles me at times that it sounds so intuitive that this is how it should be done, but in reality we are doing exactly the opposite because we assume that this person would be able to do the job. No, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Probably it also questions, for example, the specific example that you shared, the
Yeah.
HR example, it also questions the process of hiring. Why?
Yeah.
Because the candidate is already inside the system, and now you
Yeah.
realize that was not a right fit. So it kind
Yeah.
of goes back to questioning the entire process from where it started. So, like, what I mean, you said that design thinking kind of uncovers the problem even further.
Yes.
So, is it okay to conclude that it kind of goes to the root of that problem?
Honestly, I would kind of stay away from the word of root cause because it's there are multiple factors that are connected to a problem, right? Let's take an example here, okay? And I'm going to take the example when during my course of MIT we picked up this particular problem. There has been so many innovations done around multiple products. But if you look at the what is it called? The shopping basket, the shopping trolley. Is it called the
The
shopping
cart,
trolley? Yeah,
the
the
cart.
cart. Yeah, correct. Shopping cart. Yeah. There's not much of innovation has been done to this particular product in decades. It's just the same. Okay. Are we saying that the cart has been the perfect product designed for the shopping experience? The answer is no. The question here is, have we really unpacked the experience around the customer shopping in a departmental store or in a shopping mall? We haven't uncovered that. Okay. And so, for instance, if you really talk about defining the problem, is the problem only about how do they transport the groceries or the provision that they really buy from a department store and transport that into the car? Is that the only solution, or is that the only problem that cart solves?
No, no, I think there can be multiple, dimensions to that.
Totally. For instance, let's just take an example, and it's funny. I'm sure you would be able to relate to this example. You know, these tiny little kids who come to the departmental
Yes,
store. Most of
they're
the
in the
parents use that as what is it called? Yeah,
the place where you can keep your purses, and the children sit in that,
the
so it
children sit
becomes
in.
a card.
Yes, it becomes a child card and not a
Yeah,
shopping cart. So, but
right,
that is also the need of the customer, right? How do you
right.
make an experience of a mother or a father who has a small child, to make the familial experience more desirable for somebody to come into the departmental store? Even that could be the problem. So I'm saying that it shouldn't be only to the root cause. It is hidden in this process of unpacking the experience of the customer.
Okay, okay, and that's where the empathy comes into picture. So where are you looking at? That's also important.
True.
Are you looking at just the product, or are you looking at the people who will probably use your product or use your service? That's where the point of
Yeah.
view changes.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, great, great. I mean, a good example that you gave, about the cart, I can completely relate to it because we've all seen this, and I'm sure the audience have also
We've
seen
all done this as well. Yes, seen and done both. Yeah.
yeah. So my next part is, again, it's a question that is coming from the audience, and it's already we've discussed about this. We're going to ask this question. It's about different steps involved in design thinking. So could you just uh, kind of throw some light on
Yeah.
that again? Probably again telling those 5 steps also, because we know the three principles or pillars. But if you could just put light, throw some light on those 5 steps, inside that.
Sure. So, yeah, as I already, kind of touched upon it, that the design thinking process begins with the empathy, right? Where it's all about customer discovery, and that's why I keep saying that it's about the experience, yeah. And for design thinking, human is at the center of the fulcrum, and not the product or the service. It's the human. It's human centric. So, it's about unpacking the experience, discovering what the customer really goes through while he or she or they are buying your product, or experiencing your service for that matter. Yeah. It's also about creating the whole customer empathy map, that what are the touch points, what do they really do when they buy my product, what are the actions do they take to buy my product. So it starts with empathy. The second step being really defining the problem. Okay. It's about get to the point to identifying what is the problem, uh, what are the assumptions that we carry about that particular product or a service, breaking those assumptions as well. For example, as I said, the cart example, the assumption here is that people would only use that to transport or to carry their groceries and provisions. But within the grocery itself, you have items which are perishable, you have items which are easily breakable. For example, people buy eggs, and where do I keep eggs? Is there a separate compartment to keep the eggs, right? So look at this. You're defining the problem deeper and deeper. Look at what the products the customer is buying. Okay, when he or she comes to the departmental store. So that being defining the problem. Then it takes over to ideating the solution. As I said, that now that you have identified multiple problems, one could be the core problem it's solving, but there are other smaller nuances of the problem that you have identified. Now go back and creating different solutions to the problems that you have identified. Yeah. So
Right.
it is a way of developing a conversation. Okay, that is
Okay.
generated. You let, for example, within the ideation process, something interesting that we really do is that when you want to identify solution, what is the regular process of identifying solution? Is that if you're solving a design problem, or if you're solving a branding problem for, okay, let me take your example now that you come from branding and all of marketing, right? So when you're solving a branding problem, you would want to bring the person who owns the business into the room. You would want to have designers or marketing experts into the room to think about and ideate, discuss, have a dialogue about the problem. But what design thinking says is you're still only using the blinder, like the horse blinder, because you're only calling those people. Okay. And design
Right.
thinking says bring people who would experience your product, or somebody who is entirely disconnected from your product, has no relation to your product. Could
Right.
that be
Right.
could that be somebody who is in IT, or could that be somebody who's in infrastructure? Yeah. So
Right.
because what it says is you question your assumptions as well. So you look at that, how is somebody from an IT going to perceive your brand? Yeah.
Right.
Or you think about, bring a teacher and see how a teacher perceives your brand. So you're
Right.
bringing people from diverse walks of life into the room, and then you kind of create this whole trigger the ideation, the creative process. That how everybody
Right.
is looking at this entire problem from total different lenses, total different vantage points. So that's what the ideation process is. And then we move into the prototype. Now, again, something interesting that I want to share here. Again, debunking the myth. Yeah? A lot of people think that prototype is all about creating a physical representation of the product, which
Yeah,
is
that is
not
something
true.
that, that is something that I was also going to address, because when I say prototyping or I hear people, they always say, "Oh, is it something like creating a model, or is it something
Yeah,
like creating a physical, kind of a replica of something?" So
yeah,
I,
yeah.
it needs to be, as one more theory needs to be debunked today is what is prototyping?
True. And it is not. It is not. It is essentially not a physical representation. It could be simply a prototype on, for example, if you're creating a service, how could you have a physical representation of that? But you could just have the entire prototype on a big white canvas or a big white board where you're putting down the entire prototype. You've seen that it kind of fits into the solution of my problem. So it could be just on the paper. So that could be one. We also say that it's about creating an MVP. For let's just take an example. Maybe we would understand better. For instance, if you're trying to open a restaurant, are you going to open a restaurant, a small tiny restaurant, as an MVP?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, right? Imagine how much amount of time, efforts, both economic and otherwise resources you're going to spend on that. But design thinking would say that why don't you come up with the menu? You just try and cook some dishes, get those feedback, and see what the customer's really liking. Where could you go back into the kitchen, make some changes, reorient your menu card? Yeah, so it's about taking those feedback, and then you go into launching a restaurant. Right. So
Right. Right.
a prototype is essentially a minimum viable product. Again, I remember the word I use as viable. Yeah. Is it profitable? Can you sustain that business? Look at it. For instance, you everybody, especially in the hospitality, eating restaurant business, people are coming up with different ideas, but do they really sustain? It's innovative, right? It's
Yeah,
innovative.
yeah. It's a question to, it's a controversial question. Do they sustain? How much?
Yeah.
How long they sustain?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
things like that. So definitely, I mean that uh, I mean, I like the way that you're giving examples, not just from one particular, sector or industry. You've covered kind of multiple things. Even my industry is such, because branding is purely based on service, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of confusion around it. I don't want to go into detail. That I'll do some other day. But
Sure.
as you rightly put, it's not about having a perspective from the insider, because that insider might also have a lot of baggage,
Yes.
and that's what it comes across as discussions and brainstorming sessions. It could
Right.
also be someone who's just a small kid giving you a different perspective
Yeah.
about what you are creating and what is
Sure.
it going to be for for them, or how they look at it. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I love the different examples, but there's a specific, I want to divert your attention to our audience who's also, they come from, they are small, medium, micro level businesses. They are solopreneurs, consultants, and probably also some professionals who are probably looking to move up in their profession, on the professional ladder. So
Right.
the question is, how can it be applied for day to day business challenges? Having said the situation today, it's all about uncertainty. It's all about, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen next, and how I'm going to supposed to survive. What can be done, and how can these day to day things, someone can just change the way at least they are thinking, so that it gives them some kind of a paradigm shift, a
Yeah.
slight bit of it.
Right. Right. Yes. So, yeah. So earlier, just we were talking about the framework. So once you prototype, you go back to testing, refining your product, and then you come back again to make your final product. Right. So that's the entire framework. But again, the myth here is that design thinking is only at the beginning of the problem. Once you've developed the product, you're done with the process. Is it true?
No, I don't think so.
It is not, and that's the whole point, right? It's a mindset. It is a thinking process. You apply the design thinking process for everything that you do in the organization, right from hiring, right from testing, right from onboarding of your employees, creating a product, designing the product, creating the customer experience. So there could be multiple things, right? So you use design thinking in every process, every problem that you have. It could be human problem, it could be a technical issue, it could be a functional problem. So you apply it on every single day. Also, another myth that we have, that people associate and attribute to design thinking or problem solving, is it's a linear process. It is not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thank God you covered this thing, because my next question was going to be that, but I'll skip that question because that's what I wanted to know, whether it's a linear, a line after line process, or
Yeah,
is it a spatial process? It's like a 360-degree
yeah.
process.
Yeah, it is a non-linear process, right? You follow the framework. You go back, you look for feedback, you try the product or try the solution or whatever that you've identified, or come up with as a prototype. You apply that in the real time. Look for feedback, come back and refine it. Yeah, so it is a non-linear process, uh, and therefore it is not. It can be applied in a day-to-day living every single day, okay, for that matter. Coming back to the uncertain times question, in terms of you asked that, how could entrepreneurs apply design thinking in the most uncertain times? And as I said earlier, that uncertain situations are the perfect opportunity for you to innovate. Yeah. So because what is really happening in uncertain times? Uncertainty opens up certain actually unpacks the problem, okay, brings about certain aspects of the problem which we had not experienced in the past. Okay, so
Right.
uncertainty comes with this whole ambiguity, isn't it?
Yes.
It is, we have to accept that the situation is so ambiguous, so obscure, that the state of being unknown is such a uh, uh, um, big aspect of uncertainty, that you really don't know, you've not experienced such problem in the past. Yeah. So
Right.
starting with
Right.
accepting that this is a unknown problem. Therefore, starting from the scratch, all your past baggages and your burdens or the assumptions are not going to fall true. And therefore, how do you look from a different point of view? Yeah. So that's that. Also, using ambiguity as a tool to look from a new perspective, using this unsettling state. We're just unsettled at the moment. You're just unsettled. Every business, whether you're a solopreneur, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business, or you're a big conglomerate, we are in this unsettling state. So how do you just look at the unsettling state from a different point of view and stay sharp, stay sharp, and see what does this opportunity offers you? Can you diversify? Can you make different products? Let me take a example. About a couple of weeks ago, and me and the CTO, we were just having a conversation, and he was talking about his background, and he said that we talk here about problem solving, uncertainty, VUCA, the big buzzword,
Yes.
the VUCA environment. Look at but some of the entrepreneurs who are at the grassroots level, who've been traditional into traditional businesses, right? They were in clothing business, raw materials and textile and all. Suddenly they realized that there is no need for textiles and textiles and garments. They quickly diversified into making cloth masks,
Right.
right?
Right.
How this brand called Innermore, okay, which is a lingerie brand, changed into making masks.
Right.
One
Right.
thought I was like, wow, what a, it's like look, using the uncertainty to create businesses and different business stream for that or revenue stream for that matter. It changed it entirely, and that's what it is, right? How can you use the uncertainty? Also, I would say entrepreneurs must stay curious. Okay, the crux, the fulcrum of design thinking and innovation is the knack of constant learning on the path. Yeah, yeah. Nothing can be achieved within the comforts of your complacency or comfort zone, right? As we say.
Right.
So how can we
Right.
stay curious? Yeah.
These are
Um,
all my favorite topics. Curiosity, creativity. How do you get use ambiguity in your favor? All these things, and you rightly said, pivoting,
yeah.
existing your skills, is this existing, technical abilities. You pivot and use it in your favor in the uncertain time. So I think when you apply design thinking to this entire situation, I'm
Yeah.
sure our viewers will get some idea, or rather start thinking towards getting some ideas and trying to pivot themselves to make benefit in this uncertainty also. But
Yeah.
that brings me to one question which our viewer Chandan Mishra has asked. He asked, since we talk about failing fast, can this fear of failure be an obstacle to adapt or adopt to design thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I would say, given my background in psychology and counseling, I would say that fear of failure is the biggest deterrent for individuals or people to take up or to jump or take the plunge of entrepreneurship, right? And that's what design thinking does. It helps you to it prepares you. It gives you the framework to fail fast, which means that the impact is far lesser, I would say.
Lesser,
Okay,
yeah,
the risk,
lesser.
the risks as risk are also calculated. The stakes are very minimal and low. Imagine, as you said, that if somebody wants to start a restaurant and they came up with this whole theme about Japanese cuisine. Okay, maybe our Indian palate is not used to. When we talk about Japanese cuisine, I could be wrong, but I could be coming with my own assumption. But I'm saying sushi is something that we associate only thing that we know about Japanese. But there's a whole array of Japanese cuisine that probably you and me are not. We don't have that
Even aware.
acquired, yeah, or aware, yeah, aware for
Yeah.
that matter, right? So you want to bring the idea is innovative. The idea is has the novelty into it. But did you try checking the feedback from the customer? Create it live. Let them eat. Let them experience, and then come back and say, hey, whether this will sustain or no.
Right.
You see, so, that's what it
So,
does.
so
It
probably, you can say that it's cutting off the fear of failure. So it's kind of reducing the fear because you're not feeling big. You're just going to
yeah,
feel small because it's going to be under your control, and it's
true.
not going to go blow out of situation where kind of it kind of puts you completely, you finishes you off. So that's not going to happen.
Yes. And also, as I said, that the prototype is not about really creating a product. It's an MVP. It's a minimal viable product. That's it. Okay. So the stakes are low, extremely low. And therefore, I said this is a rational process, a rational problem solving process, which has factored this aspect of failure and how much impact could it create. In fact, some of the services that you design, design thinking also offers you a entire model, statistical model, which helps you to say whether you should go ahead with this particular project or no.
Okay. Okay. So it's also a tool which kind of gives you an opportunity to say, or decide yes or no. So it's a decision making tool also.
Exactly. It's a decision making tool too, which means that you've made the prototype, you've picked up feedback from the market, from the customers, from the users, and you realize that you thought that the product was brilliant, the idea was out of the world, but hey, there are no takers.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Right.
Do you want to continue the product or the project because you think it's a brilliant and you put in money or the resources and that spend the time, or you want to say, okay, I want to scrap it completely. And that's what design thinking says. It's a mindset. So even if it means that you have to scrap the project, but it's still a rational decision making process. You see?
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
I got it. So I
Yeah.
think we've covered 40 minutes. I'm just going to take a few quick questions, and the time
Sure.
just flew. That was the great part. Again, Chandan is asking whether, I mean, if there are any limitations to design thinking that one should be aware of.
Yeah, I would say there could be. I mean, of course, no model is absolute, or no model is perfect for that matter. I think the ideation process, generating idea process, really requires you to spend a lot of time, bring people from different walks of life, from diverse fields to come together and to generate the ideas. If you fail in the ideative process, that's one limitation that I really see in design thinking. Okay, I also see that the prototyping is again a very critical part of design thinking process, and a lot of entrepreneurs just skip that. They don't make the, I mean, they may make the prototype, but they don't pick up enough feedback from the market to really justify or quantify whatever their assumptions that they have picked up in the beginning. So those are some of the limitations that I really see about design thinking. There's one aspect that I also feel that design thinking brilliantly works for a physical product, for a product development. But when it comes to service, the aspect of quantifying the viability of the service could be not
Objective.
as I wouldn't say, yeah, could be object. For example, let's take branding, marketing. Yeah, you may just put a cost to it, a cost of acquisition of the customer, but you really can't say how much money have you been able to, or how much revenue have you been able to make because of because we created a certain brand. There is no
Right.
objectivity to it. You're not able to quantify that. Yeah, so those are some of the limitations I would say with the design thinking.
Okay. Again, Chandan is asking that, is there anything that you would like to share? What was one of the challenging problem that you helped your client to overcome using design thinking? So a quick
Yeah.
reference.
Yes, I would say that's a good question, Chandan. I think the biggest challenge that I really face working with entrepreneurs. Currently, I'm working on a project where I'm working with the women entrepreneurs who work at the grassroots level, trying to create livelihoods for families and for women at the rural areas. So I see that breaking the mindset or challenging and shifting the mindset becomes the biggest challenge with with every process for that matter. I would say. So, for instance, the one of the women that entrepreneur that I'm working with has been traditionally doing business. They make ethnic craft, handmade craft. They're expensive, they
Okay.
are environmental friendly, they're sustainable products, but they cost really high because obviously it's handmade. The artisans are have to be paid and things like that. So they've been doing the business traditionally. They've been really
Okay.
doing well in the business. Suddenly, with the pandemic, the business completely shut, and now for them to think how do they move this business to the whole digital platform, include or reach or increase their capitalize their reach and reach the masses is the biggest challenge that they are. So I think the mind shift. They've never done this.
Right. I think something to do with legacy, what they've been doing since traditionally, and then it's very difficult. It becomes a rigid, and probably I think the challenging part for you would be to kind of mold it now
Yes.
and kind of make it little fluidic, or get them into fluid thinking of something new, about a new way of doing things.
Yes, yes. And I think, and I always think this is that to institutionalize design thinking, it's the management, the leadership, the top brass should understand what design thinking is capable of. how it is different, what value can it really add to your business, to your decision making process and the innovation process. So it's one, of course, it's a problem solving, but it's also decision making tool. It's an innovation process. So it's all these three encompassed in one particular framework. Yeah. So it starts from the management, the leaders. Yeah, we need to institutionalize the design thinking. Only then you will realize that even the day-to-day problem can be resolved by that. Yeah.
Right, right. So Chandan says, "Thank you, team, for taking all my questions. Appreciate for extending the session. Thank you, Chandan, for asking and posting the questions because that's where we always like questions. I know me and Lakshmi are working. I mean, we're working since we've known each other since 10,
Sometimes
15
now.
years. And we love questions. By the way, just like to tell everyone, all of you that Lakshmi is also a psychotherapist and a certified, counselor. She also helps individuals to come out of their emotional problems and mindset issues and things like, or probably things like depression and anxiety and other demons in the mind. uh,
Yeah.
Lakshmi is also, she's created her own psychometric test in terms of how a person, or to calculate how resilient a person is, to see if you're resilient in terms of your leadership, in terms of facing any problems, in times of uncertainty. I think we are going to have one more session with Lakshmi
Sure.
on this topic, resilience. Why? Because I want to declare it because in today's situation, I think resilience is the most important human trait
Skill.
that
Yeah, great.
that is going to help people to survive, sustain, and then probably thrive. So
Yes.
that's going to be like the journey. First is survival, then sustenance, and then heading towards thriving. So we're going to have you back again, so that this is not the first and last time that we are going live.
Sure. I look
And thank
forward to it.
you for spending time with me and the audience out here. I'm
Sure.
surely looking forward to have one more live session with you, which will help our viewers. Thank you
Sure.
so much
Why not?
for coming today, and if you would like to say something to our audience.
I mean, they've been a brilliant audience. I mean, a special mention to Chandran, Chandra, who really asked lovely questions. Yeah, so thank you so much for that. Yeah, so just a parting thought, just to kind of summarize what design thinking. I would say design thinking is about transformation, and transformation is about human at the center. And uh, so to be able to bring about innovation, human at center, innovation at scale, and technology at speed, if we get these three components really well, I think we will have a solid product or a solution for our customers and their businesses. So yeah, design thinking is for all, is that I would like to say. Yes.
Very, very well said, very well concluded. It's human centric and it can be used by everyone. I think thank you so much, Laksh, for coming and throwing some insights and throwing some very debunking some of the myths and probably giving some good insights on this tool that we can use for ourselves and our business or probably our workplace. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for giving the time.
Thank you. It was lovely having a conversation. All right.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Take care
Take care.
and stay safe.